Hey, what's up everyone? This is Joe. Welcome to another how-to origami tutorial, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to make the origami Millennium Falcon. Alright, so before we get started, I did want to say that this is a rather complex model, and as a result it's going to be fairly difficult to do, so not all of you are going to be able to do it their first try. So if it's difficult for you, there are several tools you can use, such as the pause button, and there's the slow-mo down here with the gear icon, and also it helps if you try it once, see how it turns out, see where you can improve, and then you try again. Also, if you don't have much experience with origami, you can start with a more basic tutorial and work your way up as you go. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to do first is we're going to fold in the four, what I like to call primary folds. So we're going to fold in both diagonals and both in half. So we're going to go this diagonal and this diagonal, and we're going to go across both ways as well. Alright, so once you're done with those primary folds, now what we're going to do is we're going to fold in this edge and this edge into this diagonal, and then we're going to do the same thing with these two edges, folding it into this diagonal. Alright, so now we're going to unfold this and we're going to do the same thing up here. Alright, and unfold. Once you've done all four of those folds, you should be able to clearly see a diamond shape right here in the center. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to fold both of these in at the same time. So we're going to fold along the sides of the diamond in a valley fold, and it should cause this little flap to protrude right here. So pinch that down and then go ahead and press it down to any direction. Alright, do the same thing on this side. We're going to fold valley folds in on the diagonal of the diamond, and then we're going to push this down and flatten everything out. There we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do a mountain fold right along that middle crease and then flip it to one side like this. Alright. And then this flap right here, we're going to elevate to vertical, and you should be able to squash it down. So to help us do that, we're going to fold this edge into this center crease right here. Make sure this is a good strong crease so that it can be reversed easily. Alright, once you've done that, unfold and put it vertical again. Now we're going to open this up, and we're going to squash fold down like that. Alright. Now we're going to go ahead and flip it over. We're going to flip it over, and then we're going to fold this one in the opposite direction. And once this is up to vertical, what we're going to do is we're going to take this side right here, this kind of wing looking thing, and we're going to fold that up. There should already be a pre-made crease that kind of forms underneath all the layers, but we're basically going to fold this edge up to this center crease like so. Alright, and then press down and give it a crease, and also there will be a pre-made crease right here. We're going to go ahead and fold down on that and crease. Alright, and then unfold all of that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to elevate this to vertical. This is a rather a slightly difficult step, so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of compress this back So I'm going to open up this pocket in the back, see that? And when I do that, it kind of wants to flatten out like this. But as I'm doing that, I'm going to also use my thumbs to open up these, alright? So I'm going to do it slowly and you can see, so I'm going to open up the back, alright, and then I'm going to open up these as well. And so what should happen is this should compress down like that, and then you should be able to flatten it, alright? Just like this. Once you've done that, go ahead and give everything a crease. Alright, and then fold over. Alright, we're going to do the same thing to the other side, okay? So we're going to put it into vertical. Oh, first we're going to, my bad, first we're going to take this edge up to the center crease. And reinforce that fold. And then we're going to fold down. So it kind of folds from this point inwards along that pre-made crease. Alright, then we'll unfold that. Now we're going to bring it up to vertical. Open up the back first. Alright, open up the back first. Then open up these two side flaps. And then everything should compress down. If your paper crumples, that's not the worst case scenario. This part of the plane shouldn't really be visible. I said plane, I should have probably said spacecraft, but oh well, I'm not going to be too technical here. There we go, now we flattened it out, and we're just going to go ahead and even it and give it a good crease. Alright, just like that. Now we're going to close it. Okay, and if you need to crease along the edges, if you feel any bubbling, go ahead and work those out right now. Okay, so now this is what it should look like. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of create the iconic separation between these two flaps. You can already see the base of this spaceship is taking form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of reopen one of these sides, and I'm going to make a very small reverse fold along this crease. So I'm going to demonstrate this first, and then I'll explain it in a little further detail. So what I'm doing is I'm making a mountain fold right here, pinching it into a mountain fold and drawing it all the way back to the base right here, and then I'm closing it back up. And this should be a very, very small reverse. So maybe like this. Alright, so again, I'm going to show you what I'm doing. I'm essentially taking this center crease right here, which was a valley fold, turning it into a mountain fold, and then I'm making little bitty valley folds right here and right here, just like that. Alright, hope that shows up like that. Okay, so open this wing up, and I'm just going to reverse this, pull it all the way back, and then close it. Alright, we're going to do the same thing on the other side and just try and keep it the same size as this side as well. So we're going to do a mountain fold, pull it all the way back to the base, kind of start to close it, narrow it down at the same time. This is a little bit tricky, especially if you haven't had a lot of experience with reversing folds. Alright, so there we go. Go ahead and finalize these creases. And then we're going to unfold them. And trust me, they're important, so don't worry. We didn't do that for nothing. Go ahead and undo those. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this flap right here, and basically we're going to open it all the way. So this is kind of like the crane in a way, if you've made the crane before. We're going to fold in along these creases right here. inwards to the center crease like that. All right, and open it all the way up. Just like that. Okay, and extend this all the way back. The more precise you can make this, the better. Okay, now once we're here, we're going to use this line right here as a reference point. So when you remember we just did that kind of weird reverse fold over here, we started it, we made it go all the way from the base line out to the tip of the, whatever you call those two things in the front. But anyway, that's what we're going to do here. We're going to start a small fold from here that goes all the way to the end. And a way to do this is to align it with the crease we just made. So I'm going to pull this back until I see that crease. See this crease right in here. This crease right here, that's the one we made in the previous step. So I'm going to fold so that the crease sits right on top of there. Alright, and there'll be this kind of weird protrusion right here. Go ahead and undo that, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And then unfold both of those. Okay, so now here's what we're going to do. So we have this, those little folds we've made right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this top layer right here. So there's this smaller layer that sits right here. We take that top layer, and we're going to fold a valley fold along this crease we just made. Alright, and you'll see it kind of makes a little bunching right here. We're going to press that through. So I'm inverting it. I'll show that a little closer to the camera so you can see. So, alright, so I'm valley folding here, walking it up, and then we have this kind of bunching right here. Just going to use my thumb to push that in. Alright. Now from there, this should set us up so that we can redo this weird reverse fold from earlier on. So now I'm going to reform that. So I'm going to do a mountain fold in the middle and fold along all those pre-made creases. And we should get this right here. That looks perfect. Alright, just like that. Go ahead and finalize everything. I'll show it to you one more time on the other side just in case it wasn't clear. Alright, this is pretty difficult, I'll say that again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this top layer and then this crease we just made. I'm going to fold back on that, and you'll see it forms this kind of bubble, this thing right here. I'm going to just crunch that inwards and reverse it like that. Okay, so now we can redo the weird reverse fold we did first. Alright, just like that. And finalize everything. Alright, so now real quick we're going to flip it over. We're kind of switching sides now to give us a little bit of a break. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to get this out of my way, no big deal. We're going to fold this in. So I'm going to start at this point right here, and it's going to be so that this edge runs parallel to the center crease. So it's going to look like this. There's not really a definite way to do this. It's not really a reference point, but we're just trying to make the shape look a little bit better. So you can see this edge is kind of parallel to the center crease here, and it starts at that point. So that's what I want. Alright, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and I'm going to keep this folded so I can kind of match it. Again, I'm going to move these out of the way. Fold from this little thing right there, and then do my best to match the other side. Alright, So now we're going to reverse these flaps. So go ahead and unfold them. Alright, now we can open this up. So I'm just grabbing this layer right here, opening it up, and we're going to fold again on the same layers, but we're reversing them. So I'm going to push this inwards, and oops, a little too far, right there. Should close up like that. Okay, that's just to get it out of the way. We'll do the same thing over here. Show it to you one more time. Open it up, and then press down and inwards. Okay, so now we're gonna get this out of the way. So we're gonna kind of reverse this as well. So you see we have a valley fold right here and a mountain fold right here. We're basically going to reverse those. All right, so the valley fold, let's see, I'll do it on this side. The valley fold will become a mountain fold. This mountain fold will become a valley fold. So what that does is it'll just kind of tuck this underneath. Alright, that's what we want to do, and just kind of get it out of the way like that. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So this becomes mountain fold, this right here becomes mountain fold, and then this mountain fold here becomes a valley fold. Alright, so it should look like this. We have these two flaps right here. And we're actually going to utilize those flaps. Now, if you want to skip this step, that's fine. I'll put a time marker right here if you want to skip this. But this is basically just to make a stand so that when you finish it, it can kind of like have a little bit of a kickstand kind of thing. And it looks like the landers anyway. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this edge. Let's see if we can do it this way too. This edge to this crease right here. Alright, just like that, unfold. Okay, now we're going to squash fold this. So I'm going to look at it from this way now. I'm going to open it up. So I opened it up and then press down. Alright, if we press down, we should be able to squash fold this into place. Alright, now we're going to take these little edges right here. So we're going to take these little edges right there on either side, and we're going to fold those in. Fold those inward to this crease right here. Alright, once you've done that, unfold. And now we're going to open this up. And I'm going to use my thumb to kind of press down here. When I open this up, we should be able to use these folds to pinch inwards, and these will kind of make a little protrusion right here. Let's see how well, there we go. So it makes this little triangular protrusion right here. That's what we want. So I'm going to pull that out and press down. If that didn't make sense, go ahead and watch it again. This is just kind of a practice thing, doing all these little reverse folds and rabbit ear folds and things like that. So there we go, that's what it should look like, and what they'll do is they'll extend outward like this if you want it to have a stand or landers or whatever, and they can just tuck back if you don't want them. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing to this side. Okay, when you're done here, it should look like this. We have these two little flaps that can be up or down, whatever you want. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and flip this over. We're going to start working on this side again. So now we're going to start working on this side again. So you'll notice there's this kind of angle right here that forms. The real Millennium Falcon has flat fronts in front right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of make an imaginary line going across right here at that point. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Imaginary line that goes like this. Okay, and we're going to fold along that line. Alright, so I'm going to fold this down flat like that. The goal is to just give it a flat end right here, okay? And make sure they match on both sides so it stays symmetrical. Okay, once you've done that, go ahead and unfold those. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hide that flap. So I'm going to just take it from the inside right here and flatten it out. See that? I'm just taking it from here and then spreading it. Alright, and you should be able to fold it inwards towards you and down. Okay, like that. Once you do that, you can refold along all those previous folds. Alright, you should get something that looks like this. Alright, after you're done. Looks a little bit messy now, we're going to clean it up a bit later. Okay, go ahead and press that down. Alright, do the same thing over here. I'm going to look at it from the inside, and then I'm going to flatten it all out, fold down. Okay, and then I'm going to refold and press down. Alright, now for a moment I'm going to pretend like I have double-sided paper, because I know a lot of you out there will have double-sided paper. If you have double-sided paper, all of this is going to be a different color, and all of this is going to be a different color, and all of this is going to be a different color. Alright, and chances are you don't want those to show. So what we're going to do, if you want to hide those, you can take this edge and fold it in to this edge. So we're just going to fold it in half to hide that color. Alright, this is a very small, narrow fold, but I'm basically just folding over like that to hide it, okay? Alright, now it should look like this. And do the same thing on this side. Alright, once you've done that, there might be some little protruding, small little details right here that you don't want. Go ahead and just fold those back if you have any of those. So just tuck them back out of the way. So like I have one on that side and then I have a little one on this side. Just little kind of annoying things that stick out. I'm going to go ahead and just tuck those away. Now clean that up really nicely. Alright, so now we have this area, this whole big area right here that I want to get rid of. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this back towards me, and it should go under this point. And basically I'm only going to tuck it back until I can't see any white showing through. Alright, so right here I can't see any more pencil. Alright, just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and pinch that flat. Alright, press down. Alright, so not bad. Now we're going to start making the cockpit part of the Millennium Falcon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this crease running right here and I'm going to fold it towards this crease in the middle. Alright, so I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to rotate around this point right here, rotate around this point. And fold it so that this crease aligns with the center crease. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay, and now both at the same time we should get a vertical flap right here. Okay, so once you get a vertical flap, do what I did and just kind of tuck it over to a side, and I believe if you look at it from the front, it should be on the left side. So I'm going to keep the cockpit area over here. And once we get here, I can see where underneath this part of the paper meets this flap. So it's about right here. So I'm going to take this mark, right, and then I'm just going to add like a couple millimeters or something off to this edge right here. So add a couple millimeters right here. Whoops, come on, focus. Focus, there we go. All right, so just added a few millimeters. That's the point we're going to use to fold on. So I'm going to fold on that point so that these edges stay aligned. All right, this edge and this edge. So once we've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this top edge and I'm going to fold that down to this new crease right here. So I'm going to fold that down here like that. Cool. Now we're going to undo that and we're going to make this whole flap vertical. Okay, so we're at this point right here. Now, you probably guessed it, we're going to open this up and squash it down. Alright, next step, we're going to take this tip and we're going to fold it back. There's no definite way to fold, but just from looking at where my model is, I'm guessing it probably works if you fold at the point where there's this little V right here. You make a little notch right there. You can probably fold it back at that point. Just be sure that you keep the center crease aligned. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these flaps and I'm just going to roll them. So I'm going to start, usually it helps by using my fingernail. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pinch a small amount and just start peeling it back and rolling it like this inwards. Okay, make sure you also roll on this side to work that crease in. We're just going to roll it like that. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Just going to pinch and roll. Just like this. Okay, and now we should be able to combine the two together into one cylinder like that, and then pinch it kind of down like this. Alright, so that is the cockpit for the Millennium Falcon. One of the nice things about this ship is that it looks pretty scattered and junky as it is, so having these kind of asymmetrical sloppy-ish folds does not hurt the appearance at all in the end. Alright, so now we're going to go to this side right here, and I'm going to take this whole flap and fold it over, and you should see another edge underneath this peeking through. We're basically going to fold it so that they align with each other. So I'm going to fold this so that it sits right on top of that edge. Alright, so you can see right here, or maybe you won't, there you go. See this edge right here? I'm folding right on top of that. Okay, what we're doing here is we're making the little satellite disc that the Millennium Falcon has on top. This won't be super exact, but one of the notable features that this ship has is that little dish it has on top. So next we're going to take this edge right here and we're going to fold it in to that crease we just made. So right along this line that I kind of drew right here, we're just going to fold that in, alright, to that crease, whoops, to that crease we just made, okay, like that. The paper is fairly thick here, so you might have to press extra hard or use a hard object like this to press down to get a firm crease like that. Okay, and unfold. Now we're going to take this thing up vertically. So we're still just folding along this crease where we lined it up with this edge sticking out right here. We're just folding that up vertically. Okay, and then we're going to squash fold that, as you might have guessed. Press down and squash fold there. Okay, reinforce those creases. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take this edge and fold it in again to that same kind of center crease we have going on there. And we're going to do that with this edge right here as well. So we have this one right here. Whoops, focus there. I'm folding this edge into that crease, And then I'm going to fold this edge right here up to this crease as well. So I'll hold it closer to the camera so you can see. Just going to fold it like that. And this one is already here. Okay, now unfold. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open this pocket up right here. Alright, if we open this pocket up like that, these sides should collapse in. So I'll bring it closer again. Alright, so here's this. I'm going to open this pocket, fold this side in, fold this side in. Alright, and we should get something like this. Okay? Now I'm going to elevate this, and what it's going to do is it's going to kind of crunch this little flap we just made. If I elevate this thing right here to vertical, or just under vertical, it's going to crunch this little flap we just made. So now I'm going to work this with my fingers. This is kind of like detailing, and honestly, one of the best models I made, I just kind of crumpled the paper here. We're just going to mess with this and form it into a satellite disc, the kind of shape of a disc. Alright. And something like this is probably good enough. Like you can tell, you can kind of tell, you don't need to know this is a satellite dish, but you know that feature is there, and that kind of gives the appearance right there of what we kind of want. Alright, so now all we have left is the details and the shaping. So as you know, the Millennium Falcon has a kind of circular base, so we're going to kind of try and round out the shape a little bit. So we have this peak right here that we don't want. You see I already kind of gave away the step because I messed up with the camera. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over to the bottom, and we're just going to fold this peak down a little bit like this, just a small fold down like that. That just kind of gives it a more round appearance. Alright, so there, it's not as sharp. Okay, also on the bottom you should see these kind of pre-made folds right here. Let's see if I can't get my camera to focus on them. There we go, these folds right, these crease marks right there. Alright, so I'm just going to fold in along those. Alright, pinch. And so that gets rid of this kind of aggressive crease that was over here. But now we have one right here, so I'm going to also do a small little fold along that. Alright, just like this. This is all no reference, you know, just kind of doing whatever makes it look more round. Alright, so we're going to do the same thing on this side. So now I'm going to flip it over, and you can see this already has a much more round appearance, and that's really nice. Okay, and so the very last thing we're going to do is there's this little kind of small peak right here. I don't necessarily like that. If your paper is, if you start with a bigger piece of paper, this will work. If not, it may not work, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw an imaginary line from where this meets that peak to here, like the small little thing right here, and I'm going to fold back on this. So basically I'm just making a flat front to here, and that should kind of include the layer underneath it. It'll kind of latch onto the layer underneath it, and this does two things. It gives it a more flat appearance, which is realistic, and it also helps hold this down, so this isn't going to stick up as much because now it has something to grab onto. And since this is such a thick fold, I'm going to use something very hard to press down and make a very solid crease. Like that. Alright, so this is the Millennium Falcon. So this is my own design, and I'm actually fairly proud of it. Just kind of came up with it on the spot yesterday evening, and I thought this is pretty cool, I should put this on my channel. Anyway, so let me know what you guys think in the comments, and if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. That lets me know I'm doing a good job, and I really appreciate that. So also, if you guys make it, let me know. I like to hear your success stories, and if not, leave a comment and ask a question, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you haven't turned the notification bell on, I know you're probably tired of hearing everyone say that, but it's important. Turn that notification on so that you know every time I make a new video. So thanks for watching. I hope you had a great day. See ya.